and that was an amazing journey. I mean, I really regard that as my first major, my first piece of work, really, on screen. It was a terrific story and a very intense journey into the whole story of Lizzie and young girls like her who'd come to New Zealand into these extremely remote places with some fairly taciturn, solitary men. And we filmed that in the most beautiful area of New Zealand, down in the top of the Moke Lake, back of Queenstown. And we stayed up in there. Graham McLean, who was the producer, had some property up in there, and we stayed on a hunting lodge way in the back, and we just used to go from there to the set. It was very memorable and fantastically, I loved it. I really loved it. And there were also, I remember there were only I think there were only 3 or 4 women on that, including myself. You know, makeup and continuity and wardrobe, and I think and me, and that was it. And it was something I was quite unused to, such a remote, contained existence. Vivian Wallop. Isn't that a great name? Vivian Wallop. I was the publican's daughter. I remember she was a very nice woman. Really, I was I wasn't integral to the story. I was pretty much of an adjunct, but I stayed in the final cut, and that's something that is always, it's worthwhile. I mean, you can put whole role on in a story down, and if the movie comes in too long, one option for the edit is to pull a whole strand, and you can end up on the floor, which is a salutary lesson in choosing roles that are integral to the story structure. They nearly got it up, and then then everything fell over. The money fell out. Something happened. The rug got pulled, and the whole film. And we were quite close to shooting, I think. This is it, as I remember. And then by the time they got it up again, I was pregnant with my second child. And I thought, oh, this is not going to work. And anyway, John was able to persuade the completion guarantor, because I was going to be nearly due to deliver over the period of that shoot, and he managed to persuade the completion guarantor that I was a good risk, and we were choppered in and out from Glenorchy up onto the top of the Routeburn track, right into deep snow. We'd get off these helicopters and you'd be thigh deep in this extraordinary deep powder snow. And it was the most amazing adventure into sort of remote areas of New Zealand. And the story itself was kind of, magnificently sort of epic journey into the heart of comprehension and comprehending an issue, and I loved that. I loved that film. I loved doing it. Vincent was great. He, I know he has a reputation for being sometimes difficult, but actually, many directors are difficult in a funny kind of a way, and what you have to do is be receptive to what they're looking for. And you have to be able to interpret, even if what they're giving you is brief and spare. You have to be able to trust that the contact that you've made is right, and that you're going to be delivering it in the right, and it was, and so I didn't ever have really a problem with Vincent. I just had my third child when Peter came over to Sydney to meet me, because I knew Fran already. I'd done some work with her years earlier, and we'd been at school in Wellington at the same kind of time. And I remember saying to Pete, I haven't actually ever seen, I was living in Australia by then, I hadn't actually seen any of your you know, Brain Dead or Meet the Feebles, you know, tell me what I should watch, you know. So, and he went, no, don't watch anything. Don't watch nothing. He didn't want me to see anything. Just, you know, it'll be fine. I felt this immense need to really try and honour Honorah Reiper. And, you know, funnily enough, I remember down in Christchurch, I used to dream periodically through the shoot that she was cleaning the apartment that I was in, which I thought was really interesting. It was quite odd. She would clean the apartment at night and I would go out and be her during the day. It was very strange. It was a repeat dream that I had. But I remember reading that script as it came off the fax machine and it was complete page turner. I found it a compelling and extraordinary story of a terrible kind of absentee parenting, an absence, a lack, and a terrible destructive force alongside this burgeoning sexuality of my daughter. I found the whole story really very powerful. She was a woman who was kind of drowning herself, really. It was a sort of suffused with sadness, that whole story. And I remember seeing one of the final cuts with once Neil Finn had done music. And I remember finding the music absolutely, completely undid me. By the time you added that element, you know, I could watch the story and I could watch that terrible grief on the beach. But as soon as the music went into the entire story, it was, you know, kind of, yeah, immensely painful. But really, you know, again, Christine had a wonderful spareness to her work, which I think really illuminated that story in a really good, interesting way. Mrs. Beecham was well known as extremely dry and sharp. Those are not particularly necessarily my natural qualities, you know. And I thought it was interesting that to play a woman who was essentially completely constrained by the circumstances of her time, and yet by the time you reach that marvellous scene where she and Katherine are discussing what she would have done if she hadn't married and had children. Now I know that conversation is essentially taken from letters between the two of them. You get a terrific sense of this woman's utterly compromised existence, and I think those are interesting stories to tell. I have no idea whether I'm certainly not in the first film. I don't know whether I'm in the second. I don't think I am. I think I'm probably in the third, but I'm really not sure. And of course, you know, you can end up on the cutting room floor. So, but again, a marvellous, terrific locations, amazing to be going to work on the shores of Lake Tekapo. That is, you know, it's bliss. And great fun. I mean, Pete is now, it's a huge rig on set with him. He and I are old friends. We've known each other a long time. So it was very easy. And it was great working with him again, you know, as actor-director. A great sense of familiarity. And it was good fun. I enjoyed it. I feel very pleased that I've managed to kind of cover the range that I have of, you know, a youngish mother who got things wrong, a middle-aged woman who goes off the rails and is an alcoholic. And I think that for many actresses, the role scales become much shallower and smaller, and you become peripheral to the action, and you're an adjunct to the story. And I think to maintain, I feel especially pleased about maintaining doing roles that are integral to the story, that are central, and that I'm especially pleased about that, and that continues to occur. So I'm delighted. And in some respects, there's even a sort of resurgence, which is fantastic. I mean, it's kind of a late run, but it's good.